I thought you were watching the game.
Yeah, I was watching the game, bro, but bro, they only had 3 minutes, man.
Bro, they're in golden point.
Bro, don't play with me like that.
Look. Oh, bro. Oh, bro. Bro, I told you, bro, they were still going.
Bro, I told you, mate. I told you, never doubt the brothers. It's a draw. It's a win-win. We get a point each. We're still in the top 8. I told you that other week, bro. They're top of the table, bro. By the end of round 57, bro, we're gonna be at the top of the cup.
Yes, kia ora everyone. Welcome into the show. Before we kick off, let's bring the crew straight in. Got E, Dills, and Willie here.
Yo.
Kia ora, guys. How are we all?
What's up? I'm
Morning.
good. I'm good.
Awesome.
How's your weekend, Adam?
Not bad. Busy rugby league day. Rugby league, I love it. Love it.
Good. Yeah, lots to talk about then. So first up, we got a couple club re-signings. I'm most excited about the first one here. Terrell May has re-signed for the Roosters. Also, Jai Gray for the Rabbitohs, Michael Molo for the Dragons, Lindsay Collins for the Roosters, Nick Meaney for the Storm, Mitch Kenny for the Panthers, and Matt Timoko for the Raiders. Any of those re-signings fill you with some excitement or?
Yeah, I think Terrell May's an interesting one for a couple of reasons. A lot of noise a couple of months ago about him and his brothers wanting to get back together and whether they were going to get that with the club. But I think it's a real succession plan from the Roosters with Jared Waerea-Hargreaves moving on, signing a young front rower who's come a long way this year already. You know, he played for Samoa last year at international level. He's grown a lot and he's performing really well. So it's a big one for the Roosters, that big one to sign a young front rower that looked like he was out the door and wanting to leave, but to stay as a real show of the faith they have in him for now, but also for the future.
I think the Matt Timoko one's a reward for his success the last few years. I think he's been a quality back. He's international. So to be able to re-sign someone like him, where most probably if you were to put him out on the market, a lot of clubs would pick him up, and I think that's a great signing. Also, like Nick Meaney, I think he's come from the Bulldogs into a Melbourne Storm system, and I guess when you think about the Melbourne Storm system, people that fit into it, it's Nick Meaney. I think he's adapted really well. I think he's a superstar down there and does his job really well, and he finds himself at a strong club. So I like that signing. Terrell May been a revelation this year. I think he's a quality forward, and like you said, Willie, definitely on the back of Jared leaving at the end of the year, I think that's a great signing for them.
Yeah, I think with that Nick Meaney one too, he's got some versatility. He came in and made his name as a fullback. He's a goal kicker for them. He's got that responsibility. Yeah, great for him for what he's done, but great for Melbourne too.
What about Jai Gray? Did you catch that South game?
Outstanding.
He got knocked out. He got knocked out in there, but then come back on. What do you think?
Tough.
Yeah.
Tough. They kept mentioning it in the call of the game. 5'6". He's only tiny, but gets up in the air. He's brave. He doesn't. I think his first involvement was a catch and goal with 3 defenders coming at him. He catches it, gets down and runs 20 or 30 metres. Yeah. He's going to be an excitement machine. For sure, he's putting some pressure on Latrell.
Yeah.
But he's one for the future. 20 years old, I think. He's a great keep for South.
I was gonna say that. We've got Latrell sitting on the sidelines for 2 more weeks, and you got Jai Gray. Where do you reckon he fits into that system? If do they move Latrell back to the centres? What do you think?
I think for the good of the team, I think that's the guy.
Yeah.
I think they've got to put him back to centre. If this young kid carries on the way that he's going, he's going to put some real pressure on them. Whether Jason Demetriou is there and makes those decisions or not, that's still to be seen. But yeah, I think for the team, and I think for Latrell, he's better at centre.
Yeah.
He fires up at representative level when he plays centre for both the Blues and for Australia. He hasn't quite hit those heights at fullback for South. So I think moving him back to centre would be good for him and for the club.
I think that that suits, I reckon, like the style of play that they can play at the back. I think Jai Gray, he's a good mover. He's tough at the back as well. I'm not saying Latrell's not, but putting him in the centre adds another strike weapon to that outside, or to the edges. So when teams are defending, they're having Latrell, and then I think he plays his best games when he's at centre. I don't think he's as fit as your traditional fullbacks are at the minute, but hands on the ball and a threat with the ball, man, you got to get him out there wide and get his hands on the ball early.
I think if they can do that and possibly move Jack White into 6.
Yep. Oh, I like it too.
That would be a good move. He's been great for the Raiders in the past, playing at 6. For Souths to get on the winning run.
Walker to 7, or?
Yeah, I think just that experience in the halves to run the team around, and having someone of Jack White's experience takes a lot of pressure off Cody. So he can run, he can kick, he can organise the team, and it also allows the trial to get to the centre, and I think that's a better look of a Bunnies team.
Yeah, I like that.
On to some of the injuries that came about this weekend from the games. I'll just quickly read off everyone. There's a couple of key ones and a couple of unlucky guys here who have been very injury prone. So Satili Tupanua, Tui Kamakamitha, Hammer, Jazz Tavanga, Lachlan Croker, Ben Trebojevic, Tor Fafo Sipley, Tavita Tatola, Tyrone Munro, Jack Bird, Jaden Campbell, and Zach Hosking all picked up various kinds of injuries. Any of those ones key losses? I think there's an obvious one in there.
Yeah, well, I think definitely the Jazz for me is going to also challenge the depth of the Warriors. They're already down a few men down there, but they're definitely showing what they can do with what the quality of players that they have in line. But I thought if we go back to their game, he come on there and brought a little bit of energy. He tried to change the game, and I thought early in the game, 6 carries, and then he scored a try, and then a hammy. He come on and made the most of his. It was only like a 10-minute stint, Willie, and then I thought he was a big part of their changing the momentum in their back end. 35 minutes, they were all over the shop. The Manly Eagles were all over them. And then he comes on, he does, 5 carries, scores a nice try for the post, and the momentum shifted. So if I look at those ones, and we spoke about, I guess, the Rooster, or the South Sydney Rabbitohs, how they're struggling already, but Tatola, they're already low on stocks around the middle of the pack, and I don't think they're a real strong pack as well. So that's going to be a big shot to the Rabbitohs, and trying to find some consistency with performances. I thought they were better on the weekend, but injuries are going to hurt them.
I think Hammer's a big one for me. He's been huge. He didn't start the season real well in round 1, and he came out publicly and said Wayne Bennett blasted him for that performance, and since then he's turned himself around, and he's been so influential for that team, and it showed off in 22 minutes, and they're a different team. They're a different team without him. You can just score a try out of nothing, as we've seen so many times this year. And he's a big reason why they were at the top of the table. It'll be a big loss.
Especially seeing as they've got already Farnworth and Flegler injured as well. They were on a big run leading the NRL before this weekend, now down to 4th. It could be rough next couple of weeks for them after, all these injuries. I think the 2 unlucky guys I was talking about was Ben Trebojevic and Jaden Campbell, man. Jaden Campbell just came back.
Yep.
He had to do a fitness test before the game for his knee. Then he does his knee. I don't know how long that's going to take him out at 4 again, but the Titans are already struggling. What do you guys think?
Have they confirmed an injury on Jaden Campbell? Because fingers crossed it's not an ACL or anything really bad. Because like you said, he's a big part of that team and was already out early in the season with that. And then I think when we talk about Manly, the first names that come to my mind is the Trebojevic brothers. And man, I thought someone like Ben that can cover most positions on the field, who's had an outstanding, first start to the season for them, and scored a nice try on the weekend. He's a big loss, I reckon. He covers a lot of positions for them.
For sure, and he's good with the ball. His attacking lines. And as you said, he's scored a couple of tries already this year, but defensively, he's got a massive wingspan. So especially at centre, there were a couple of times when the opponent was trying to get around him, and he just has got that much of a reach, so much coverage because of his wingspan. But he's a big loss. He's just starting to find his feet as a first grader. Those types of players need time. They need consistency on the field, and hopefully the injury isn't for too long and he doesn't miss too much time and he's back out there.
On to some of the bigger stories. There's a couple of these. First up, Zac Lomax. He is set to be signing a 4-year, $2.6 million deal.
Hold on a minute.
With the Parramatta Eels. What do you guys think of that? I remember last season he had a lot of things about him coming out against the coach and he was sick of it, fed up, he wanted to leave. And now he's getting to leave, most likely. It might even be before the end of the season. But I think just in the weekend, his performance for the Dragons showed what kind of like a guy he is, that he's willing to still put in the hard work for the team while he's still there.
Yeah. Well, and I think the commentator said it in the game, he's in career best form and he's playing a position that he doesn't want to play, winger. I think he's been quality for the Dragons this year, and I think if there's been anyone that stood out to me in the Dragons, it's him. He's gone about his business. He's scoring more tries than he ever has. I don't think Rabbitohs has scored a try yet. And you know what I mean. So I think he's been a superstar for the Dragons. But again, this is big conversation, when you're in a team and you're not playing your position and you want to play another position, and then contracts these days don't mean too much. And you put pressure on the coach and the club when you want to play your position that you want to play, and then people start talking. It's rugby league, and then opportunities come other places, and this is what it creates. It creates headlines, it creates media attention, and also creates an opportunity for Zac Lomax to try and go for another role at another club. But this would be a great signing for the Parramatta Eels. I think he's a great player. You put him in the centres, you can play him on the wing. He wants to go there as a centre, does he, Willie? Or
well, I think that's what he wants to be, is he wants to play centre right now. And Shane Flanagan's made a big call early doors in his coaching career at the Dragons to put who has been the centre for such a long time out onto the wing for the good of the team. And as you said, he's found career best form. He can't stop scoring. He's a goal kicker, and it's a bit like Latrell. He wants to play fullback, but it's not best for him right now. And it's a bit like Zac Lomax. He wants to play centre, but at the moment, for the team and for him, he's an outstanding winger. He could even play for New South Wales on the wing the way he's going.
Oh, mate, he's like, leads the NRL for run meters. Does he?
For runs.
Like, so his involvement, he's supposed to be getting more involvement on the wing than he does in the centres, but he's making a difference with his involvement. He's been a big part of that Dragons team. And I think, man, I guess, most like players, it's hard. You want to be a team player, but you also want to play in the position that that most suits what you think is the best for you. And for him, it's obviously not wing, but man, I think he's been a revelation, and he looks like he's enjoying himself. So I don't know.
And we talk about the rugby league thing, and it's hard to say whether some of the noise publicly about him is coming from his agent, or not. And I've not read anything from himself. That said some of these, and some of these are innuendos. So it may be the agent, and maybe just reporters making stuff up. But I understand where it would come from and some of the truth to it, because he's been a centre for a long time. The question, again, I'll come back to the representative stuff, is if he makes New South Wales as a winger, he's not even in the conversation as a centre. And he's got to thank Shane Flanagan somewhat if that is the case.
Definitely. You've been a coach at a high level, and if you're in a situation like they're in now, what is your thoughts around this? You've got a player that wants to play in the centres, but you think he's best suited for the team on the wing. Do you still go about it the way that the Dragons are doing it?
I think so. If you can accommodate for that space with someone else and put another centre in there that can take that space, and he still be good for us or great for us on the wing, then you make that call. If his centre replacement isn't as good as him or isn't going to cover that, then you've got to find a winger. But he's happy with the centre that they've got to put him on the wing to do that and still have his best backline in place. And that's what Shane Flanagan's going to do, and that's what I would do as well.
So when you sit down and talk to a player at the start of the season and you're saying, hey, this is where I think you best fit in the team, what do you think what are those conversations with the individual, and how do you how do you keep him happy if he doesn't want to be there?
Yeah, honesty. You got to be honest, Blair, and you've got to be open with that and try and do that. It looks like Shane Flanagan's had this plan in mind before he came in. So how early in pre-season he sat down with him and gave him the opportunity, all right, I'll give you a couple of weeks at centre in pre-season, I'll have a look at you. But my thoughts are I'm going to play you on the wing.
Yeah.
Because even before the season started, there were some rumbles about this. And, you know, it comes back to how the player handles it.
Yeah.
And every player is different.
Yeah. And I think he's handled it really well, obviously, with his performances and things that he's done on the field. So the coach in the background's going, hey, we've done something right for the team and the club at the minute. And at the end of the day, you can't keep someone there if he doesn't want to be there. And this is what it's created. It's created an opportunity for another club to come in, and they're going to lose.
Just another headache for Shane Flanagan. What he's had the Ben Hunt thing going on for so long, and whether he wants to stay or go. And now Zac Lomax, and he's just got to get a happy team.
Yeah. So who do you think? I don't know. I haven't looked too far into their team. Who slots into that wings position? I haven't looked too far into it. I don't really know who any young kids are standing out coming through there, but it's going to be I think it's some big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
After what he's showing what they can do.
They had the young fella on the wing last year with the headband and the long hair.
The long hair. Yes, he was tough.
A crowd favourite.
He was a good player.
Yeah. So he could be still in their system, and he could be still part of the top 30 and an option for Coach Flanagan.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the actual biggest story.
Oh, so you said the biggest story, but now it's the actual biggest
the
story.
biggest before.
Okay,
the
This is the
real
actual
one.
biggest one.
You mean?
Josh Schuster. So I'm sure everyone knows what's happening with him, but I'll just give the rundown. So he was granted 2 weeks of personal leave last week following the news that he was given permission to talk to other clubs. He was originally named for this weekend's games for Blacktown.
Yep.
Seagulls feeder club, but he ended up not getting on the plane even. Last year, he signed a contract extension worth $2.4 million, which will start next year and run till 2027, $800,000 a year.
Reportedly.
But according to the Sydney Morning Herald, all 16 other NRL clubs have already said that they are not interested in acquiring Schuster.
Wow.
So I got a couple questions for you guys. How did the situation get here, and what is the future for Josh Schuster?
Well, he's an NRL player if he wants to be. But when wanting to be an NRL player, there's some strict things that you've got to get right. Sacrifice is a big one. Discipline is even bigger. But then being a team player at the same time as well. So I guess you sort out, like, first and foremost for him is most probably sort out his off-field, if he's got any off-field issues, sort those out, and then narrow your focus in what your goal is as a rugby league player. What do you want to do? What's your reason why you do what you do? And then you sort that out. And then when you turn up to training, you work your butt off. So he's in a bit of a dilemma here where I think this is most really the biggest news in rugby league at the minute because he's on so much money, and he's been spoken about all through his age groups and even in the NRL and the things that he can do with the ball. For me, it's the things that he does off the ball. And the NRL is based now around all the effort areas. And if we speak about those effort areas, I think for me, it's the work that you do off the ball. It's the inside pressures. It's the getting back to the line nice and quick and getting up line speed. And I just don't think he's showing enough of that in reserve grade for the NRL coach to warrant his selection into the NRL team. And I think that's what's holding him back. But then you had the likes of Ben Trbojevic, who's obviously had an outstanding preseason. And this is what preseason builds. It builds competition. It also builds an opportunity to state your claim in the NRL team. So he's obviously had some injuries. I think he got chickenpox in there as well. So he's had some issues that he had to overcome first and foremost, and his most probably was behind a few of the other players in front of him. So a tough one he's only a young kid, a tough one to handle, especially when you get all this publicity out in the media, but he's had that for the last couple of years, and obviously big money signing and re-signing him. So I think he's got some, I think first and foremost, you got to look after, he's obviously, his welfare is important, making sure that he's okay, and then from there it's just like, all right, what do you want to do as a player or as a person? Do you still want to play the game? And then work it out from there, I think. Willie?
Yeah, and there's a couple of other questions too. What does he want to be? He was saying publicly when he first came into grade that he wanted to be a 6. Well, to be a 6, he's got to be a lot fitter, a lot smaller, because there's no doubting his skill. You're seeing some of his chip and chases and his passes to set up plays, just so natural. And he's one of the most naturally gifted ball players that we have in our game. But for his size and for his speed, he's a back rower. He's better on the edge. But you talk about pre-season being competition, Olukoyatu's their standard back rower. That's the standard. And he's nowhere near that at the moment. He's nowhere near that. And you never begrudge a player for signing a contract that's been offered to them, especially a big one. And I put some of the responsibility of that back on the club. Because what had he done up until then? Very little. He hadn't done much. He hadn't really proven himself. And there was always questions about his fitness, and, he chose not to go to the World Cup to stay back and have a pre-season. And how did he come back after that? Not fit enough. Same last year, said to Samoa, no, I don't want to play. I want to concentrate on Manly. Pre-season, what happens? He misses the Vegas trip, still hasn't played, and now he's out the door. I think they've done, Anthony Seibold's done a great thing by giving him the 2 weeks off. I think it's important, his welfare and his well-being, and he just takes that time to sit back and decide truly what he wants to be and whether he can dedicate and apply himself in the right way to have the NRL career that everybody expects of him and knows he can do.
And like they said, no other clubs chasing him. Surely there's, that's a bit far-fetched, I think.
Yeah, his agents come out this morning and said there's at least 4 or 5 that have spoken to him. And you would speak to him because he's such a talent. Yeah. And if you did, and I saw something this morning about if Melbourne's one of them, you're putting stipulations in. And I remember when Melbourne took George Rose down there. Yeah. Big fella at Manly, was a fan favourite, was a fan figure, but was never the fittest. Got to Melbourne, they put him through the ringer, lost all that weight, got really, really fit, and that could be a good place for him to change his approach and change his mentality and his professionalism to becoming what's needed.
I think that place will be important. Like the Storm would be an important place for him if he really sits down, like you said, and sits down and takes a think about what he wants to do as a player and where he wants to go. I think going to Melbourne and just going there for an opportunity, and let's just take the money out of the equation and just going down there just become a better person, better player, and going down there to go and work your butt off. And say if you work your butt off for that whole time and it doesn't work out, at least you can say you gave it your all. But I don't think that'll be the case for him. I think if he was to go down there, he would come out being a better player for the run. And sometimes you might have to sacrifice a bit of money. And I know that firsthand. I had a bit of that stuff down at the West Tigers. Went down on a big signing, bit of pressure on myself, good money, and didn't get to the standards or the heights that I wanted to be as a player. So I got an opportunity to go to the Broncos, and you have to take a bit of a pay cut just because you need to find the why and why you love the game and start believing in yourself and what got you to where you are. And that's what I found with my time. I enjoyed my time in Sydney for the Tigers. It challenged me. It made me a better person. It made my family stronger. But I understood that I wasn't happy where I was. And I had to go and take an opportunity somewhere else because someone believed in me. And sometimes you just need a coach just to tell you, I believe that you can be this player and I've seen what you can do. I just need you to work hard for me. And I think that's what he needs right now.
That's right. The environment and the surroundings you're in, especially for someone like Josh Schuster, is so important. He's got to have some really good professional seniors around him, take him under their wing, and show him how to be a pro. show him how to live his life day to day and give him that discipline. And then he'll see the rewards for it. He'll come out and he'll look at this stage in his life that's pretty tough right now as a real positive turning point.
I got one more question. Do you think the Sea Eagles went about this the right way, taking it to the media, and now everybody's talking about him? Is that the right way to do it?
Oh, well, I didn't think the Sea Eagles took it to the media. The media just find things sometimes to talk about. And when you've got a quality player of his caliber sitting in reserve grade, the question is why is he down there? So if you keep digging and you keep writing stories and you find something deeper than what it is, then it just becomes a headline. And then that's what I think that's where it's gone. I don't think it's been the club. I think it's people watch rugby league and they see someone of his quality sitting in reserve grade and they're going, why is he down there? Is it because he hasn't performed, or is he overweight, or they just start asking questions and it becomes a headline. People start talking about it. The pressure gets put on the club. And this is the result of rugby league and the media pressure from the outside in. This is the noise. So I definitely think it's more the media that's pushed us along, and at the same time, it's put pressure on Manly Sea Eagles to make a stand, and this is what they've done.
I mean, so last week we posted our first show to YouTube. Well done, us. But we also got our first
Congrats,
comment.
brother.
We got our first comment, which is what I'm getting at. And the first comment asked us, man, Adam, why are you talking so much about the NRL, bro? Can we talk about actual rugby league?
Yeah.
And so we're going to start doing that.
Beautiful.
By talking about the Fox Memorial, the premier club competition for rugby league in Auckland. Obviously, Willie, Maris man.
Yep.
So you know all about it. So I thought we could talk about how the qualifiers are 2 weeks through.
Yeah, so
break that down
how
for
it
us.
works is the competition's broken into 4 sections of 4. So you got to play each other once, so that's 3 weeks, and the qualifiers decide at the end of it 3 teams from each section to go through and play essentially the Fox Memorial for 2024. I'm not sure about this process. I'm not sure if it's required. Extends the season by another 3 games, but I'm not sure what we get out of it. And at Marist, we've played 2, we've won 1 and lost 1, and we've got 1 to go next week against Bay Roskell. But I think it's a little bit unfair as a system on Point Chev and Richmond in particular, who made the grand final last year. Point Chev are the winners. They hold the trophy, but they've got to go through this process again, which I don't think is fair. They, at least making the grand final, you should have a rite of passage to go through. That's you've already got a ticket. You've punched your ticket through. You shouldn't have to go through this because technically, the grand finalists, the winners, they could miss out by going through this period, which is unfair, totally unfair. And I think what else it does is it hurts in the transfer market. You get people moving around and there's no stability to teams, and teams aren't able to get any consistency through coming through. And that's always going to happen financially, but players want to play in the Fox. So what's happened in the past is players have gone to teams through this qualifying period that Team A hasn't qualified, so they've jumped ship to another team, which is unfair on that team. And I think it's messy. It's messy for the league in going through, and teams just coaches want players to stick by and stay with them and have some loyalty at least for this season, which, gets tough on players. And I understand why they do it, but it's the system that allows them to do it.
Mm.
Yeah. Have you been watching the games, Adam?
Yeah, firstly, thanks to our fans that write in and give us these things, because I think it's important that we give the people what they want to hear. And I think being on the outside now, I'm a big part of just being around the local game and stuff like this. And I think this is a great opportunity for our local kids, if you're not in the pathways, if you're there or thereabouts, to making sure that they get game time. We do have kids, or men actually, sorry, not kids, men that come out of our New South Wales Cup team. If they don't make the team, go back and play for their clubs that they represent. So it's an opportunity to keep them fit. My thoughts are mostly more really around this transfer and loyalty stuff. Is, you know what I mean? Like, if your team doesn't make it and you've picked that team, loyalty. You should stay in your unlucky. You know what I mean? Like if you want to go to a team that's a successful club, you've got to go there from the start of the season, and that's where you should go. And when you go into the qualifying, so if you're going to like a Northcote that don't make it, then you shouldn't be able to jump out and go to a Point Chev and strengthen up there just because your team got knocked out. So how long? If the game finishes on a Saturday and the draw comes out and you know that you're into the Fox, how long do you have before you can go, hold on a minute, we're not going to make it, I'm jumping ship?
Maybe a week. They've tried to change the rules this year where teams can only transfer 3 players. So obviously teams will keep some transfers up their sleeve for this period. But as you say, it hurts the other team. And you've got what happens in pre-season at this level is players go around and train with different teams and see how
they don't just stay and train for like Point Chev.
No, players will go and train with different clubs throughout pre-season.
Yeah, that's a bit weird.
See how they feel and see what the coach is like, see if they've got an opportunity or not, for various different reasons, though.
Yeah.
And some players may move jobs and move house and it's closer to them, so I get that. But that should allow you to make a calculated decision on what team I'm going to play for this year. And I agree with Blairy. Once you make that decision, you've got to stick with it. You've bought into it.
Well, that's your pride you put on the line there. So if you go, I'm playing for Northcote and I'm staying off Northcote, staying strong, and then all of a sudden you don't make the Fox competition, you go, oh, hold on a minute, I'm just going to go jump over here. Sorry, brothers. Sorry, coach.
Yeah.
You know, you fellas, good luck down where you guys are. I'm jumping ship over there. I just don't think that. It does, kind of, for me, it shows the character of a person. You know what I mean? Like you make a commitment, you commit to that team. That's if you don't get in, unlucky. That's you went there for the purpose of trying to get into the Fox, and you didn't make it. You can't just jump out.
Totally agree.
So I don't like how that works. But again, for me, is our local competition that Fox is strong enough? Do we have enough talent through that Fox that there's going to be more than 2 teams competing at the top, or only 3 teams? So every weekend, is it strong?
No, it's not strong enough. It's not strong enough to where it could be, and that's for a multitude of reasons. And we lose a lot of players, and I say the Fox loses a lot of players every year to Aussie.
Yeah.
And some are chasing their dream to play, some are going for work reasons and family reasons, so you can't stop that. But no, in a nutshell, no, we don't have enough of the quality players to have a competition where we're challenging, or you're having a challenging game every single week.
Yeah. How difficult is it coaching in the local comps? I'm mixing between under 8s, under 14s, New South Wales Cup, a little bit of NRL, a little bit of Māori space. Like and I feel it's difficult for myself. And it's more around, I guess, the understanding of the game for me, and it's the basic fundamentals of understanding what's needed at training consistently to perform your best on the weekend. And there's a variety of reasons why for kids and then older men as well. But I find it like I have all this knowledge sitting in my head, but how does a coach take all of that out and simplify it so that what they can understand?
Yeah, and we've tried to do that right from the start of pre-season, which was 5 weeks before Christmas. And as is the case at this level, you turn up to training and you don't know how many you're going to get.
Yeah, or they work.
Yeah, for sure. Through the course of pre-season, we had quite a few numbers, and a couple of reasons for that was there was some emotional driven motives for that because of our club went down and players wanted to come back. But you'd get some players on Tuesday that don't turn up Thursday. So the teaching process is constant.
Yeah.
What you teach today, you've still got to teach in a couple of weeks' time because the guys that missed out, you've got to catch up. But the thing I love about the Fox and this level is the players play because they love it.
Yeah.
They just love playing. You know, to do a 10-hour shift digging holes and grafting all day and then come at 6:30 when it's peeing down with rain and put your boots on and come out and do another couple of hours of training and then come and play and put your body on the line for very little money on a Saturday.
Yeah.
just shows how much they love it. And the challenges are what make doing it and helping out so rewarding.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they're so appreciative. The players are so appreciative.
And I think I've noticed that in the New South Wales Cup spaces, you have local boys in there that, you know, and we've got full-timers as well, but those local boys that, like you said, do 10-hour shifts, and they still turn up to training with a smile on their face and work their butts off to try and be better or get up to the standard that keeps the coaches happy. And you got to give them credit that, geez, like, they're chasing a dream as well. And they may not get their dream, they may not get there, but I think, man, for them just to turn up after a day's work, personally, I don't know how hard it is because I got lucky through my journey. Yes, I did a little bit of time on the side early ages, but I went for a system and we got lucky with, you know, I found my dream, I chased my dream, I got it. Some of them don't do it. And I guess when we go back to the working stuff, and I'm just touching on that, the Melbourne Storm do it really well. Pre-season comes along, all the new boys, all the young boys, they do a 2-week stint in the real world, digging holes, doing some labouring stuff. So what they're trying to get there is getting a bit of a gratitude for what people do in the real world. So not taking your job, being an NRL professional athlete, for granted. And I think that's a great way of doing things because it just showcases, I guess, you could either go over there or you can become a professional NRL athlete for, 24/7 and live the dream that you want to do. And I just think, those are the things that when I turn up to training and I see these New South Wales Cup boys turn up to local boys, and I think, man, you fellas, bro, just keep grinding because you just never know. I just want to quickly touch on, have you heard much around this? If you've played New South Wales Cup and you're under the age of 23, you can head over to the Super League. You heard much of that?
Yeah, there's already been one player, Isaiah Vangana.
Yes.
He's gone over to Wakefield. And
Yep.
as soon as that ruling came out, him and his agent took advantage of that, and good on him.
Yep.
It's a change of ruling that allows a young fella like that who's not going to get a chance or feels like his door to the NRL is closing to go over and still be a professional.
Yeah.
And still earn some money and still be make a living out of the game.
Yeah, so I think that's a really good one, and I'd like for people that are watching, most probably not many people have heard of that one at the moment because it's only just come in this year, eh? So if you're playing New South Wales Cup and you're under the age of 23 and you've played some New South Wales Cup games, you can get an opportunity to play in the Super League. Who benefits from this? The club and the player? The player or?
Yeah, the player, obviously, they get over as a young fella because they're under 23. And they go over and learn, they can still come back.
Yes.
And still be young enough to be able, and as we know, in Isaiah's situation, he's a front rower.
Yep.
And front rowers bloom late.
Yep.
But I go back to Jackson Hastings.
Yep.
Jackson Hastings was hitting stumbling blocks at Manly, went over to Salford, won the Man of Steel, went to Wigan, had a couple of years, grew as a halfback, grew as a rugby league player, learned his trade of how to lead a team, came back, and now he's a fully fledged NRL player again and playing consistently. So there's chances for the player to really learn at that young age.
Or Blake Green.
Blake Green's another one.
Yep.
Yeah. Went across the whole KR as a young fella, won a grand final at Wigan, come back and killed it there.
Yeah, played for Melbourne Storm and did really well. So I think everything that we've just spoken about in that local stuff is really important, and just for our fans just to get an understanding of, I guess the passion behind it, but also where the game's growing as well. So I like that. Thanks to the fans. Bring those questions every day. Let's go.
Shout out.
You're speaking a lot about, the young guys coming through New South Wales Cup. Well, there's a tangential competition, Harold Matthews Cup, which is going pretty well for the Warriors in their first season.
Yeah.
Isn't it, Adam? Do you want to tell us about what's happening?
Oh, it's awesome. First year, Harold Matts into the pathways. A big stepping stone from, obviously, the previous year. They had SG Ball in there. New South Wales Cup was back in. But they've brought in Harold Matts, which is under 17s. They've got SG Ball again, 21s this year. So a great opportunity, and the pathways, this is more local stuff as well. The pathways are there now for our kids to see. So they can see where this takes them. So it goes Harold Matts, SG, Jersey Flag 21s, New South Wales Cup, NRL. So if you're a young player looking for opportunities, you want to be keeping an eye out on the Warriors page. They've got a Future Warriors page where they're putting up and posting things all the time. Trials are normally around like the October-ish or early October, so or September. You want to be keeping an eye on those things for all our local kids, because this is what it creates. It creates the opportunity where they go play an Australian competition where they can learn. But this is a reward for these players. They've turned up since November. They've trialled through September, October. They've put in the hard yards through like a 10, 11 week preseason. They start early February, first week of February. And they finish up, hopefully, in the grand final. They come up against a quality Parramatta side who their local juniors are just gun. Some great talent out that way. I think Parramatta finished up third.
Yep.
The Warriors just scraped in to the top six. It's only a top six competition. You can only go through if you make the top six. They got really lucky. The results fell in their favour. The two teams that played each other, they needed them to draw. They drew. They fall into the six, and they're now playing next week for a semi-final, going into a grand final spot. So awesome to see these kids go there, and awesome for the crew that are coaching them. I think they're a real passionate crew of young coaches and I guess strength and conditioners and physios that want to make a difference for these kids. So, man, what an opportunity these kids have, and I think it's great.
I think it's important that they have all four teams coming through as the pathway. You look at the yardstick at the moment, the measuring stick and the barometer for the league is Penrith. Penrith at first grade level, but you look underneath of what they've got going, they're just constantly bringing through that team that they've got at the top, a majority of local lads. They're local fellas that have come through that system, and if the Warriors are able to find some success in that pathway and have a homegrown team, it's one, it helps your salary cap, but two, it keeps the fans coming back and they find some success. Because what happens when you get young fellas that come through the system, they're invested in the organisation, they're invested in the badge, and they play for a lot more than just that.
And then you got the women's space coming in as well. The NRLW team's back on. So
Is that next year or
next year? So when you look at the Warriors as a kid or a little young lady that wants to play in the NRL, hopefully, the pathways are all set up for it. So great opportunities for all our kids here in New Zealand. I think it's great that they're back in there, and man, keep an eye on all the social pages through either the Future Warriors, the Warriors itself, so that if there's an opportunity to get in there and trial up, I think, man, I don't care if you play rugby union, you can jump in there too, kids. Get in there.
All right. On we move to finally the NRL games of the weekend.
Yep.
So we started off with the Roosters and the Knights on Thursday night. Roosters won that one 22-20. The biggest talking point, Joey Manu. What did you guys think about? He broke the record for run meters, 370.
Wow.
Held by Clint Gutherson. He's actually done that before, though, for the Kiwis.
Did he do 400 or no?
He did 403 for the Kiwis in
Ridiculous.
the first
Crazy, that
game
fella,
of
man.
2022 for the Kiwis. So what are we thinking? Is he meant to be a fullback or what?
Bro, like he wants to go to rugby. Oh, come on, my bro. Like, far out, man. Like, you chuck up those stats and you see him play and you see him, the things that he does. He's not your traditional fullback. He just wants to be involved in the game. For me, yeah, chuck him in there. I reckon he's got to be the fullback. It's a hard one though, because you got obviously James Tedesco, but he's out, so it gives him an opportunity. And I think, man, sometimes you just see Joey Manu play. He just does things that no other player can do on the field. He just gets in there and carries the ball, and he just wants to be around the ball. He just wants to be around the action. But man, to be able to do what he does, 370 metres in an hour game, 400 plus in an international, man, it speaks volumes of the player he is. I hope he doesn't go to Japan, but he has come out and said that, hasn't he, Willie?
Yeah, he's mentioned that he's leaving the Roosters, and Trent Robinson has said that he's going to go to rugby. But
Dumb, man. Come stay in rugby league, bro. We need you.
But he's a ridiculous athlete. You look at the size of him and the physical abilities that he has on top of his football ability. Outstanding and just tough. And you couldn't blame Trent Robinson when Tedesco comes back for putting him back at fullback, because he's been on fire this year.
Yeah.
He's been off for a couple of seasons, but he's been on fire since round one. So he'll go back to fullback. But while he's there, just make hay, man, because you're great for your team. And not only him, on the back of him there was Suoli'i, who I think ran for 200 odd metres as well.
And Tupou as well.
Oh,
And Tupou, you know, and they've still got Dom Young out there too, who's not playing. So they've got some big outside backs, and Joey Manu, just exceptional.
I think one of the best things about him has got to be like his mentality as well. Towards, like last season, he had to play 6 centre. He got a couple games at fullback, but he was moving here, there, and everywhere. And I don't think I've ever seen him complain about these roles that he has to fill. He just goes there and does his work and looks amazing.
Just for mine, the highlight for me about him, in the couple of occasions that I've met him, he's just a great person. He's a great bloke.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he's able to accept those things and do the things that are right for the team. You know, because he's an exceptional person on top of being a wonderful player.
He just goes about his business. I just think he's a footballer that just loves playing the game, and he's good at it. Man, I wish I could do what he does, man. But like, you know, it's the way he carries the ball. He's strong. You know, he can jump high. He's athletic, but he just wants to be around the ball. But when we speak about, like you spoke about the outside backs, man, their outside backs that game were enormous. It went Joey Manu, Tupou, Suoli'i. Those boys, they just come off the back fence and they set the platform for those Roosters. And again, if they can find some consistency in there, and as long as James Tedesco is out, and if they can use Joey Manu at the back, I feel like they get a little bit of enjoyment off the back of what Joey Manu does. Those other 3 big boys when they're carrying the ball. Guess maybe it's that Pacific connection. You know what I mean? That's like one of the brothers are going, oh, cool, I'm going to get off the back of him. You know what I mean? So I think, man, they looked really excited on the other night playing against the Newcastle Knights, man. So keep it going, Joe Manu. Get those guys in there. And I think, you know, obviously Kalyn Ponga was in there. He's a big part too. You know, it was a close game. He's a big part and an integral part of that Newcastle Knights team. And he was a bit sore in the first half, but come back and, you know, if they got the ball to the right person at the end there, it might have been a different scoreline, but quality player.
Yeah, that must have been real scary for him for the fans when he was injured for almost half of that first half. He was just hobbling around. I actually counted it. He had 5 touches of the ball from the 17th minute until halftime. 3 were catches off kicks. 1 was a dummy half pass. And the other one was a try assist to Bradman Best.
He passed a lot of those balls after he got injured. He was catching high balls and just passing it straight off. And I was thinking the same. I was like, man, they can't lose him. He didn't look good, but I guess a couple of needles and a pad up, and he's a new man second half. But he would have been sore after the game, that's for sure.
But not just his talent. What you're talking about with the ball when he's running and he's threatening. We saw that in the first half against the Warriors. He plays so far above his weight. It's ridiculous. But just how much confidence his teammates get off him. You know, they grow. And it's almost like having that 18-year-old kid in your under-12s team, and when he goes off, it's like, where's Johnny gone? Why we can't win without Johnny now? You know, that's what he's like. He's that ridiculous and that important to that team. He's an outstanding player. And big questions, you know, put some pressure on Billy Slater and the Queensland team, whether it's him or Reece Walsh at fullback.
Wow,
Definitely.
I like that.
We talked about, just one more thing on Ponga, we talked about last week, the Dally M. Obviously, Ponga was leading last week. He had 17 points up there in number 1, even though they had a losing record. He didn't get any points for this game. Not a surprise considering he was ineffective because of injury for the first half.
Yeah.
But do we now understand why he's getting all this hype in losing games more? Like, is it becoming more clear why he gets those points?
Yeah, well,
because of how just integral he is.
Yeah, you can clearly see, and you know, I've spoke about it on the side, not on here, but I think, you know, I think he still made 210 metres, and he didn't even pick up points. But I remember, you know, when he played against the Warriors, I thought Roger was the standout fullback on the day. He cleaned up and got 4 points. So, you know, when you got one good player in your team, and I'm not saying the other ones are bad, but one that's consistently a threat with the ball, he's normally going to pull a lot of the points in. And this is a prime example of, you know, what he can do as an individual. but he didn't pick up any points in that game. So that was quite surprising for me because depending on, I guess that if we go back to that Warriors game, like whoever was watching that game thought he was the best player on ground. And then on this game, he wasn't for them. You know what I mean? He could have picked up one. So he's on 17. It's, yeah, I still think he can go all the way and go back to back if he stays fit and stays on the field. I think he's a big chance of winning Dally M again.
Yeah, look at their results. They're not far off in games. That Cowboys game was a golden point drop goal, 2 points on the weekend. And he's a big reason why they're in the fight. He's a big reason why they're still in games and still threatening right to the end. So whilst they are losing, he's having a big say in them being in that result and in that position.
Definitely. So the next game, Friday afternoon, evening, the Bulldogs versus the Storm, which the Storm did what the Storm do and they took care of business. But at the same time, it was pretty tough for them up until the end, thanks to Sean Bloor. What were you guys thinking about that game? I thought the Bulldogs were looking pretty incredible, left side.
Yeah, definitely their left side. I think that's their strong side. William Mikiko, and I think he just mentioned before about he's up the top there with
He's got
Kalyn
17
Ponga
too
on
now.
17 points. So he's been a revelation for them this year. Again, hampered by injury last year. Man, he's hard to stop. His footwork, his power, his speed, his skill. But then you got the pace of Josh Adokar sitting out on the wing. And Bronson Cherry's finding his groove. I think he's 2 games in. He got a starting role this week. He was last man called in last week. So I think if you can get those 3 firing and you give some more consistency around Bronson Cherry and giving him some game time, man, that left side's a strong side for the Bulldogs. I still don't know what I'm going to get when I watch the Bulldogs. You know what you're going to get with the Storm, and like you said, they just stay in the fight. They're never gonna turn over and just let you win it. If they lose, they lose the game, not the opposition. The opposition don't win it, they lose it. So I think the quality of the Storm, they just keep turning up. But they put in a bit of performance. I thought the Bulldogs, and that left edge for me is damaging, and William Mikiko's a big part of it.
I think that left edge, some of their issues are in good ball. Their threatening abilities of that left side are in yardage. Kikau's making 50-metre breaks and finding Bronson Cherry, and it's in good ball where they're not quite clicking in sync. I went back and reviewed some of the numbers in the game. They made 15 errors, which hurts you. 15 errors against a quality team like Storm, and you've got to finish off those chances that you get in good ball. I think they're not far off. They haven't really clicked yet. They're still finding themselves, but yeah, they're a dangerous team, but you can't look past Storm. Just their resilience to finish off games late and stay with it, and they just stick to their process. They just stick to what they do, a bit like what Penrith do. They're never out of it, regardless of the clock, regardless of the score. They're always in the fight, and always dangerous. And as I said, against a team like that, you've got to complete high, and you can't just keep giving the ball over.
I think Sean Bloor is someone in the Storm who obviously he's just signed there in the off-season. He wasn't in their week 1 squad and didn't get in until 2 weeks ago. How do you guys think he's been going? Because I know he was out of favour for a bit at the Tigers. Now he's in the team. He just scored his first try. Any thoughts on him?
I think everyone in that Storm side just understands and gets their role, and that's the big thing down in Melbourne is you don't have to do anything out of the system. It's just get your job done. And they have a clear visual or understanding of what their jobs are, and that's all he's doing. You just run lines, you do the tough carries when you need to, and then when the opportunity comes to strike, if the half hits you short, it's because there's a hole there, so you just run your line. So I think the last 2 weeks he's been solid for them, and someone that they're going to try and build around, because they're must be looking for back rowers at the minute to try and see who can fill those spaces there. They've obviously got Eli Katoa, who's on the right-hand side, who's doing a good job and still young. And then obviously Bloor trying to figure out who's taking that back row position. So strong couple of games, I think, and plenty to work on for those fellas.
Yeah, he's got young Joey Chan.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's had an operation on his hand. He started it the first couple of rounds in that left back row position, so he'll be back at some stage. But Melbourne just have a history of turning people who go under the radar, and some of their recruitment end up being cheap on the salary cap, but turning them into superstars. What they did with Dale Finucane and Josh Adokar was pretty much a no-one at the Tigers. When he was there, come down, superstar, top try scorer in the competition.
Pappy.
For how long? Pappenhausen. Nico Hines.
Yep.
Those types of people. They've just got a history of doing it, and Sean Bloor is just another one of that list of people that have come from clubs, haven't quite hit the headlines, go there, do your job, learn how to apply yourself as a player and fit into a system where you can thrive and be your best. Start scoring tries and making a name for yourself.
Absolutely. Next game up, the Broncos versus the Dolphins. Bit of a weird one, but Xavier Willison has got to be up there in man of the match conversations for that. He had a pretty crazy performance. 43 minutes he played, had a try, 6 tackle busts, 181 metres. His try was over the top of Cody Nikorima, was it?
Kiwi.
Later
Kiwi.
bowl.
Young
Not much he can do on him.
No, young countryman. I think Xavier Willison is growing with more experience he gets in the first grade. We've seen glimpses of him last year. You see the similar try in the Māori All-Stars game, when he's playing short. Really hard to handle close to the line because of his size. So, if you're trying to tackle him, someone like Cody, you're next to nothing to being able to stop him there. But I think what I like about, I guess, him and Te Kura are some of the young rising Kiwi front rowers. When you think about the future of young front rowers and the Kiwis that you obviously got at the moment, you got Fisher Harris and Moses Leota, who are exceptional when it comes to what they do. But in a few more years' time, those guys are going to be at their peak. When they get up to around 50 games, they're going to be some crazy talent to have. They're both, between both of them, they're a couple of the tallest blokes in the competition. But what I like about them is when you look at a big player, and I like to tend to look at more how agile, because the game is moving quite quick, and how fast they can move laterally, because they're middle players. A lot of things done around the ruck, but you have to move side to side a lot. And those two seem to have been able to carry themselves really well. Yes, Kevy's doing a really good job because he's not overplaying their minutes, 43 minutes, and you're getting quality. So there's no point putting these young fellas in and trying to pump out the minutes that Payne Haas does or your Paddy Carrigans, because those guys are at 100 games plus at the minute. So these guys are still fresh into their NRL career. Really important that you just grow their development and you give them some consistency in there. And 43 minutes and you can get 181 metres, score a try and 6 tackle busts. Like, that's crazy.
And they would have been excited during pre-season, both Willison and Te Kura, with Palacia and Flegler leaving the club. It gave them an opportunity to step in. Now with Payne Haas injured, even more so the responsibility falls on them to be great. And that's Paddy Carrigan's doing a great job of carrying the can for them. But exactly what Blairy's saying, as a young middle, as a young forward, sitting on the bench, you've got to understand that whatever time you're given, you've got to make every post a winner. Now that might only be 10 minutes, might be 15 minutes. But in his case, it's 43 minutes. You've just got to go and blow yourself away and be the best you can in that 43 minutes and give the coach no reason to not pick you next week. He's in that position right now, and he's doing a great job.
Yeah, just some stats on him, 2023 to 24. He averaged 19 minutes compared to now the 3 games he's played, he's averaging about 40 minutes.
Yeah.
He's upped his tackles from 9 to 20. Upped his tackle bust from 1.5 to 3.5, running meters from 54 to 123, post-contact meters from 23 up to 53. I mean, he's making his time count. Is he going to be just on the team sheet every week from now on, once Payne's back even?
Well, I think you've got to keep working your butt off, because it doesn't stop where he is now. This becomes a lifestyle. This becomes a sacrifice. This becomes being real discipline. So when you're there, I think the job only gets harder. So you're never comfortable. And when you think you're comfortable in your position, that's when someone else knocks you off your post. So when it's now he's in there. It's in there. He's got to make, like Willie said, you've got to make the most of your opportunities now. So every game needs to be a winner for you. Like he said, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 43 minutes, whatever you give, you got to give your best. And I think he's been doing that consistently with his 3 games that he's had. So the next in line will be Ben Tekuro. I think he can do something really well for the Broncos. Man, they got some great young talent and more Kiwis coming out of there, which is nice. Brisbane's full of them.
Future's bright for when you get that
let's
Kiwis
go.
coaching gig. You're looking forward to coaching those boys.
Nah, leave it to Stace. That's Stacey's job.
All right, I've combined the next two, not chronologically games, but the two Golden Point thrillers, you could say,
Wow.
man, because holy, what are two games those were. So first we had the Warriors versus Sea Eagles with... I've seen some controversy about that end drop goal foul.
Yeah.
People were saying,
Always.
it isn't. I thought it just definitely... It is like a penalty.
Well, the rules are allowing that stuff now, you know what I mean? The protection around halves, that you can't touch them pretty much. So when someone's kicking the ball, you can't even, you know what I mean? Like, you can't do too much. So now you're kind of more just getting in their way rather than trying to touch any part of their body, because if you touch anyone when they're kicking the ball, that's a penalty every day of the week. And I think... obviously there was headlines with the Warriors and Lussick and what happened to Ilias over in Sydney that time. So that kind of obviously hyped around, obviously the refs would have known that was an issue last week, and there was pressure on them to make that decision. So it's a penalty every day of the week, and yes, everyone's going to have their opinions, but this is the problem with our game, is no one actually knows what it's for, or why was it a penalty, and how he got penalised for what he did. Well, you can't touch a kicker, plain and simple. Tough game. I thought the Sea Eagles were strong for 35 minutes. They were the best team. Daly Chair Evans led them around the park. Consistent with their completion of their sets. I think they were at 100% for most of that first half till about the 35th minute. And, I think Jazz come on, and we spoke about Jazz earlier around his injury. He come on and try to change the game with their middles, and he thought he's got a try, and then Dallin scores his runaway try, and they're right back in the game. So to go to Golden Point, they got very lucky, the Warriors. But what I liked about the Warriors, they stayed consistent in their processes and their systems. They still kicked to the corners. They still chased hard, and they gave themselves that opportunity at the end. And I still thought they had an opportunity to win it. I guess Tohu Harris, the captain, drops the ball real close to the line. That most probably was the one that they were setting up for too. It looked like it. He was filthy on himself. But then they go down the other end, opposite in the second part of the extra time, and Sean has a kick at goal and misses it. So if I was the Sea Eagles, I would have been disappointed if they lost, if they lost as a team. But the Warriors gave themselves an opportunity to win their game and take it away from the Sea Eagles.
Yeah, just back to the charge down. My question to the officials, I suppose, is what happens, and it was Josh Aloiai, I think, that went for the charge down. What happens if he gets a piece of the ball? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if he actually gets to the ball and still hits the leg of the kicker, is it still a foul? Is it still a penalty?
Yeah, I think it will be. Because you're still contact on the half, you know what I mean?
Well,
And now
as
they've
they're
got the
refereeing,
video.
it should be.
Yes.
It should be, but we've
tough.
taken charge downs out of the game then.
Yeah.
We've taken that aspect of our game, which is huge for me, out of it. We can't charge down.
Well, William Mikiko charges the ball down a lot. Josh Curran does it a lot too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For great reward.
Yes, and scored some tries off it too. So it is. That's what you're saying, is that you can't. But I've seen guys, and this is before the rules were they're diving, and taking legs out all the time. You know what I mean? And I guess that's what they're trying to protect.
Yeah.
I definitely think, if the rules were different, I don't think that's a penalty because nothing happened from it. You know what I mean? But because the rules are now, you can't really do anything like that with the kickers. Then that's a penalty every day of the week.
Protected species.
Yeah, and I don't know if I like that, eh?
No, I'm not sure either. But yeah, as far as the game was concerned, I thought it turned on its head just before half time when Brooks tried to throw the long ball. I think Seabold would have been filthy at going in at half time when Dallin plucks it out of the air and goes 50 to score and just gives them a leg to grow off. And they did, the Warriors. They're great to come back. It's always, the question is, when you get a draw, is it a point gained or a point lost? And I think for the Warriors, definitely a point gained.
Definitely.
They were out of that game early doors, but definitely a point gained for them.
And they've done well because out of the Warriors and Sea Eagles, they're neck and neck on points, and everything's close, but Warriors are above in the table. So I think, at the moment, they've sort of won the battle in a way.
Yeah, I think I was sitting on the sideline and I was in the box doing a little bit of commentary, and I pretty much said that they were down and out. They're 78 minutes into the game, and I'm thinking, besides a miracle, they're going to lose this one, and they'll be disappointed with what they tossed up on that day, because I thought the Seagulls deserved to win that one. But miracles do happen in rugby league, don't they? And they got away with it, and they gave themselves an opportunity to try and win it. And I eat my words, guys. I eat my words.
Just a quick underappreciated guy who's not going to get the headlines from this game because of Joey Manu. Big CNK had 33 runs, ran 346 metres, which I believe is top 10 of all time as well. So 2 of those in the 1 week, but obviously Joey Manu broke the record. He's going to get all the headlines. Yep. How about Chance? 2 games back and...
Hectic, eh? That bro's tough, man. And I think I've seen the Warriors post something up, and like the fans of the Warriors know, the players know, he knows. But it just shows you how valuable he is to the team. Loves the work. He goes looking for it. He doesn't want to sit out the game. He wants to make a difference. He's definitely a team player, and everything he does is for the team. So, man, yes, they got an extra 10 minutes in the back end of the game because of Golden Point, and that's where he clocked up his 300. But, man, to come back in your second game, and, I think he was, 270 his first game, and then 300 plus this game, man, he's, they need him. They need him on the field. They need their best players on the field, and, he's not going to get the recognition, but the fans recognise him, the players around him recognise him, his staff recognise him. So I think he's well deserved. But I just want to, I think, for me, the middle forwards, and Mitch Barnett, for me, has been a big difference with his aggression. But he's a little bit like that. I think you can give him a little bit of a G-up, and he might even turn red and start fighting you. So I think he's one of those guys that sits on the edge of, like you have to be careful what you say to Mitch, because he'll come out the line and do something silly sometimes. But I mean, and not silly, I mean, he'll do something for the team. So if you can G him up about going after an opposition or putting someone as a target, Mitch has a switch, I reckon, that can just be that guy. And I think in the back end of that second half, to put him back in the game, he was a big part when he come on the field that changed the momentum defensively. Like they got stuck into the Seagulls, and he was a big part of it. 50 tackles, and I don't think he played that much minutes. Like started early, come back on, and his second stint was most probably his best stint for sure.
I think he's an indication of where the modern front row is coming from. At the Knights, he was always a back rower, playing on the edge. And as you alluded to before, the ability to move laterally and be quick on your feet, but also have an energy capacity to stay out there and play longer minutes, because it's tougher. The difference between playing in the middle and the edge is totally different. You're one out on the edge, but it's so taxing energy-wise, being in the middle, up and back, and being involved in the ruck. And he's doing a great job and doing it with aggression, as Blairy's saying. Yeah, he can be a scary dude. You just see he gets up and he's looking at defenders and you don't have to say anything, but all right, here we go. I think there was somebody dropped the ball and he just gave the death stare, and I was like,
I think he stood over the top of someone at 1 minute there and just yelled at him like he was ready to go, But I think I think Origin's coming up, Willie. Origin's coming up, and we have a few New South Welshmen in our team. Wade Egan, Jackson Ford, and Mitch Barnett. There's 3 of them. I think consistently, if the Warriors keep going on that trajectory forward and keep winning, I think, and I know Madge, like Mitch Barnett suits what Madge is looking for.
Yeah.
Tough, just goes after the moments. Yeah. Like he's a big chance. He's a big chance of playing New South Wales for the New South Wales team, and I think, Madge will be, silly not to even have him in the conversation. Yep. You know what I mean? Some of the consistency around our middles at the minute, and those boys, Wade Egan obviously as well, I think, man, they keep winning games. Those boys will put them right up in the hot seat to giving themselves a chance of representing New South Wales, and will not let anyone down for sure.
Yeah, on to the second Golden Point game, which props to the Raiders. They got it done. They were the only winner in 2 Golden Point games, only one to go out with 2 points. Jamal Fogarty can be thanked for that. But I really want to talk about the Titans, because as shocking as they have been and their record is, let me just read some stats to you, right? So Chris Randall, Beau Fermor, and Jamin Jolliffe, 61 tackles, 60 tackles, 54 tackles. like for a team that's already the bottom, like you have no pressure, like, and they've gone out and worked that hard on defense to try and still came in a loss, and then also Khan Pereira and Kelly, with Khan Pereira had a 75th and 80th minute try, and then Kelly with his second ever attempted goal hits it from the sideline. I feel bad for them because with such great performances, you'd hope that they can get their first win of the season, but it wasn't to be. So I guess good work to the Raiders. What were your guys' thoughts on that game?
Well, Brian Kelly, the pressure on that moment to kick a goal, I think that's must be his third kick in NRL.
And he duffed the one before.
Yes, but I don't know. I felt like he looked calmer. I felt like he looked calmer then, because I'm guessing, I don't know, like the game's on the line. You're not your first choice kicker. There's no pressure on you to get it, but there's obviously pressure on you. Put pressure on yourself to get it as well. But he looked so much calmer taking that one than he did with those other ones, and just nailed it. You know what I mean? And the Titans had more opportunities in that golden point than the Raiders, and missed a couple of shots at goal. But to put themselves in the position that they did, better performance than what I've seen. I think, like you said, those three men that tackled their butts off, like collectively as a group, they were better. And I think when you're looking at a team, you're looking for the group of a reaction, and it's the small areas, the effort areas that are the hard areas. So when you're watching video and you see moments where guys are just working their butts off, you can build something around that. It's the effort areas that you can build around. But when people are being lazy and they're just clocking off because they're like, I can't get there, that's when you've got a problem. But I seen more of an effort from the Titans, and it obviously shows in the result. Yes, they didn't get the win, but they were close to taking that game out. And I thought, man, if you can get that effort consistently, you're going to win games. They haven't won a game yet, so, man, there's much going to, obviously, Souths are under a bit of pressure, but the coach up at the Titans, Desi.
I felt for them. I felt for the Titans yesterday. And because of what Blair is saying, all that effort, they left nothing behind, and so they can't be too disappointed, whilst they will be, but their fight to come back in, and Khan Pereira's a try-scoring machine. Really surprised he was dropped last week, but he's back in there, and he's shown why they missed him. But Tino's a massive loss. Tino's such a big loss for that side. And then they lose Jaden Campbell out the back, and they lose his ability to beat teams and threaten teams on the kick returns and get them started. But they get themselves back in. The Raiders will breathe a real sigh of relief because they were so dominant for long periods. And you could see how happy Ricky Stewart was in the end. I think that's more out of relief than being pleased with the performance. And disappointed for the Titans, and disappointed that Kieran Foran couldn't get a couple of those drop goal attempts over at the end. But
the old legs, the old legs just couldn't have it, eh?
Nah.
Far out. Because normally Jaden would take... I've seen Jaden hit some field goals, so normally he's got a big boot on him. Normally he takes one of those shots, so poor old Foz with his old legs just didn't have enough mun in them, eh?
No.
Poor bro.
No. Too much rust in those knees.
Fossil.
The last player I think that we have to talk about is not in that game. Moving on to the next game is Ronaldo from the Sharks versus, who did they play? The Rabbitohs. Oh yeah, my favorite. Ronaldo had a massive game against the Bunnies. He got 2 tries, 2 try assists, 1 line break, 5 tackle breaks, 2 offloads. He looked insane. He's currently tied first in the NRL for tries and 7th for try assists. He's a bit of a strike weapon. What do you guys think of how he played?
Yeah, he's quality. He just attacks everything with the energy that he brings. He's a competitor, and I guess most players are. All players should be. If you play, you have to be a competitor. But he just finds himself in everything. He competes on high balls. He tries to be in everything that he wants to be in. I thought he had an outstanding game. He's a big part of that Cronulla side, and he's an international winger at that as well. So I guess, I'm looking at Kiwi space. I like what he's doing because he's obviously the Kiwis winger. and we're coming into obviously the coaches are looking at players and watching performances, and they just keep staking their claim on why he is the winger for the New Zealand team. And this is what you want to do. You want to be consistent with your performances, and he's a big part of that Sharkies team. And I just love how he just takes the game on as it comes. He just goes after it. He doesn't sit back and leave it for chance. He plays tough. He's in everything. He moves quick. He scores tries. He's excited. It looks like he enjoys himself, but he's just, for me, it's the competitiveness that he brings to the team, and he can score tries. I like what Ronaldo's doing, and he just needs to stay consistent and keep it up. He'll be there at the Kiwis at the end of the year for sure.
His good work has got them to top of the ladder this week. They're up there now. So, I mean, if he just keeps it up,
It's not fair. It's not fair on other people that we got front rowers that are standing on the wing and can run faster than most of the people out there. That's what they've got. They've got two of them.
Yeah.
With Katoa on the other side.
Yeah.
But the aerial ability, he's got a bit of Francis Melly about him when he's up in the air running. That first try that he scored off the scrum, he walked through pretty much untouched. It was ridiculous. But the numbers that he's posting just show how consistent he is right now, and that's where he is in his career. He's posted that he can play at top level. He was outstanding for the Kiwis against Australia, but he's doing that every single week now, and that's the mark of a really good player, is that you're that 8 out of 10 every single week. That his coach knows, that everybody else that watches the Sharks knows, and their challenge now is to stay in that top position in the ladder, because you become the hunted then.
Absolutely. So, before we head off, you know how I like to hear about some mean-as moments of the week. So, how about you guys? What was your moment of the week? Maybe it could be a performance or, something that happened off the field. I don't know. A moment of the week. Have you got one, Willie?
I think the moment was the news of the week. Josh Schuster. That was the big one for me. Just someone so young, so much potential ahead of him. I hope he gets picked up somewhere. The stumbling block would be the contract that he's on, that he ridiculously hasn't even started yet. He's not even on the 800 yet. And someone's got to pick up that. And whether Manly's willing to cover some of that freight, have to see. I hope that his career doesn't hit a stumbling block and that it goes in the right direction that it needs to be. Put himself in the right position, around the right people, in the right franchise, and then take your career where it should be.
For me, my moment of the week, just how bad I felt for the Titans, man, after that fight back. I'd probably give them just the grittiness that they held on, scored those two late tries. I'd give it to all of the boys there that tried their heart out.
My moment, before we finish up and I close us off. Definitely my moment is a sold out Campbelltown. At the start of the year, if you looked at the Tigers team and we heard all the hype around Benji Marshall and his coaching styles, and there was so much pressure from the outside in already when Benji took over, and the board and all those that rubbish. But to be able to have fans turn up and be at Campbelltown sold out, to show how much they invest in them, not only the players but the club and the coach and where he's going, it just shows that the West Tigers, they believe in what Benji's doing, and they're really excited for this journey. Yes, they lost, but I think more importantly, the fans are turning up now. It's been a tough start, but he's found the way to try and get the best out of most of the players there, and the fans are showing up for Benji, and it's good to see. And I think it's great that Benji is doing the right thing.
Only way is up. Before we head off, you guys are big names, but you're also humble guys. You keep close to the ground, like we talked about earlier. You guys haven't got that knowledge. I just want to know: is there any events, local events? Actually, it could be big name events as well that you guys are going to do. Any events coming up?
Yeah. So the Māori tournaments, they've got 10 tournaments this year, and the first one that's coming up is the 20th and the 21st in Rotorua, which is their Taina tournament, which is their 13s and 14s. So obviously I'm a big part of Māori Rugby League, and I'm helping out our 14s Hokianga Storm team. So help coaching there. I love, this is my part of giving back to our local boys, but also helping them understand what's needed of a half semi-professional and what that looks like for them at that young age. I think they're really coachable at that age. So there's a Taina tournament at Rotorua, first weekend of school holidays. And then also the league starts for all our juniors on the 4th of May. So the first weekend of, after school holidays back on. All our local stuff goes. So again, me again, I'm down in the community. I'm coaching the Point Chef Pirates under-8s, and that's my son's team, and we'll be out there every weekend, rain, hail or shine, with the support of all the friends and families and all the coaches. It's a great opportunity to get the kids out and watch them smile and tackle all the kids out on the field. So, so make sure everyone's ready. Go out there, say hello, be good on the sidelines. That's the main thing. Be good on the sidelines, encourage our kids to be better, stay safe, mouth guards, headgears, shoulder pads if you need it. And it all starts really soon for rugby league for our juniors.
Oh, they need to pay you, man.
Did they?
Doing such good promo for them there. You got everything covered.
Oh, there you go. That's what I do. Man of the people.
Were you, Willie?
Yeah, regardless of whether I agree with the format or not, it's the third round of the grading round for the Fox.
Yeah.
So teams will definitely know where they're playing at, whether they're in the Fox or the Shaman, by the end of Saturday afternoon. So big one this weekend, big day Saturday for a lot of teams. Some teams have already qualified, they know, but there's some teams still in the mix, and some teams are undecided at the moment where they'll be. So it's a big one Saturday afternoon for the future of the competition and where teams are.
So he does.
But agree with Blairy. Enjoy yourselves. Be good on the sidelines. Be good to the referees. We need them. We need the referees. We don't have enough of them. So whilst you might not agree with some of the decisions, they're human, and we need them back out there. Otherwise, we don't have a game without them.
Awesome. Thank you everyone for coming in. Appreciate your fellas' time. Make sure you check out the next one coming up, or even check out this one first. Let's go.